Welcome to Celebrating Women in Medicine, a DCMS Connect virtual speaker series, with this segment's host, Dr. Stephanie Byerly.
Hello and welcome to our September DCMS Connect virtual speaker series. This month, we are pleased to be celebrating women in medicine, and I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Byerly. I'm an anesthesiologist and I'm a life coach, and I'm a proud Dallas County Medical Society member for over 20 years. In this edition of DCMS Connect, we will acknowledge and celebrate women in medicine. Before the COVID-19 pandemic, we would typically gather in person and network and celebrate personal and professional achievements. However, this virtual series has become the perfect medium to engage and interact right in the comfort of your own home, your office, or wherever you may be, hopefully on vacation, since it's sort of still summertime. While we look forward to these days where we can gather in person for peer connections, fellowship, and camaraderie, we are happy that technology allows us to bridge these times before returning to normal. In addition to being a physician, I am passionate about helping the people that help the people. I coach women physicians as it relates to burnout and women who have suffered trauma and have been exposed to somebody with addiction. Tonight's program will provide numerous life strategies that speaks to work-life balance and an opportunity to relax and unwind in a time that is difficult and stressful. Our guests for tonight's panel discussion include Donna Richardson Joyner, who is an author, an entrepreneur, and a celebrity fitness icon, Dr. Dina Hijazi, who's a psychologist, and Hanis Hussey, a certified sleep coach and stylist. Before we begin, please be sure to like and share this video with your colleagues, and now let's get started. So, have you ever woken up and thought to yourself, I do not know if I can get up and do this again tomorrow? Well, I want to tell you just really briefly my story. And it starts out that I was in a dysfunctional family, had a mom that was married 5 times, went through some traumas in my life with emotional and sexual abuse, and then was pretty sick as a little child, but somehow wanted to become a doctor. And my sister will tell you, my poor older sister, that every day when she came home from school, I used to get out my little plastic doctor bag with a little plastic stethoscope and the little pills, and I would have to examine her, and apparently wanted to be a doctor for my whole life. So fast forward, in medical school, living my dream, becoming a doctor, I end up getting married to another physician, and we have the life that everybody wants, the white picket fence, the 2 kids, the dog, the cat, and life just sort of took over. My marriage was failing. I was having issues at work because I was suffering from burnout, and life just wasn't going the way that it was supposed to. So after getting divorced and becoming a single mom and a full-time academic anesthesiologist, I really needed to figure out what I was going to do. And so I was really fortunate to come across a bunch of wonderful people who really helped me along my journey. And I'll tell you one brief story. I decided to participate in something called psychodrama, which is something that is very interesting. You go for a weekend with people who have experienced trauma in their life, and you relive out your traumas because you want to rewrite the stories in your brain so they don't affect you very much. So the facilitator of this group was an amazing woman, but she was frankly a little bit terrifying. She weighed about 400 pounds, and she was standing over me one day, and she asked me, she said, Stephanie, why did you become an anesthesiologist? And I told her all the reasons. I want to help people, you know, all the usual reasons we say we want to become doctors. And she stood over me and kept asking me. And I finally said, well, Shirley, apparently I don't know, so please tell me. And she said, you dodo, she's like, you've lived your entire life numb. You walk around every day numb. And so you want to make people numb when they're experiencing surgery, which is the worst thing they can experience in their life as far as pain. And if any of you use the emoji where your brain is sort of blowing off, that was an aha moment for me to realize, oh my gosh, I have walked around numb every day of my life, and I can't keep doing that. I have to figure this out. I have to be better for my kids, for myself, and for my patients. And so I really started on my journey. And again, I came across some wonderful people that really helped me really just, figure out what was going on, what was holding me back, because I was letting my past hold me back. I was letting my dysfunctional childhood hold me back. I was letting the traumas that I had experienced in my life hold me back. And so was doing great, and then came to another pivotal point in my life where someone very close to me developed an addiction. And that intervention from their life really caused my life to have an intervention, and things were transformed. And I found life coaching. And I have to say that that was one of the biggest things that really helped transform my life and get me on the path that I'm on now. And so I have become a certified life coach because I want to help women physicians. There are so many that are burned out, so many women that are struggling, so many women that are exhausted and overextended and feeling like they're failing at everything. And I want to help them know that there is another way to live life, and they don't have to be miserable every day, and they don't have to leave medicine. I do want to talk about some issues for women physicians, because there are so many objective things that we face that add to our burnout and add to the stresses of our everyday life. We're going to talk about the fact that women get promoted less in academic positions. They hold less roles such as deans and chairmen of departments. We also get less grants. We get published less. We have a gender pay gap. I mean, there's so many things that we face. And in addition, when we live our everyday lives, we do about 80% of the domestic duties for the most part, even if you're in the most egalitarian of relationships. So there's so many things that we face in addition to our careers. Also, there have been some just devastating effects on women physicians for COVID. And we all thought we were coming out of this, and we knew already that we had been set back probably 20 years in some of the advances that we've made in medicine. But now with this resurgence of COVID, it's going to set us back even more. Women have lost more jobs in COVID and had bigger pay cuts. Women have lost academic productivity. We're providing care in novel settings because we're being asked to take care of critically ill ICU patients when that's not our specialty. We have increased domestic duties. We're taking care of kids at home for homeschooling. We may have aged parents where their nursing home or their assisted living has closed and they have to come live with us. And sadly, we have very much increased rates of burnout, increased rates of anxiety, of depression, and sadly, suicide. Women physicians already started with a 2 times higher rate of suicide than male physicians, but it is drastically increasing with COVID. So there are ways, though, to really help with this. And this isn't therapy. I'm going to tell you a little bit about life coaching. Life coaching is really looking at what's happening in your present and what you want your life to be like now and what you want your future to be like. We do look at your past, but not going back and digging into all the things that happened to you, except in the way of how are those things holding you back now. So talking about coaching, there's so many different types of coaching. There's life coaching, there's executive coaching, and the business area has used coaching for decades, as well as sports. Any major sports figure, they have a coach, I promise you, because coaches keep you grounded and keep you in reality, and they keep you out of your head and in the life that we get so stuck in our brains. And shockingly, we have 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Half of those are negative, half of those are positive, and every day we get stuck in the same thought. So 90% of our thoughts get focused on our negative thoughts, because that's just what our brains do, and our brains try to keep us safe. Life coaching brings you to the point where you actually look at your brain and you're like, I had no idea that my brain was working that way, and I want things to be different, because the way you think is the results that you get. So coaching is really, really coming into the mainstream finally in medicine. And academic programs are using it for their residents, for their faculty, and now it's getting introduced into medical school. I wish that I would have had some of this training at any point in my career, because it's transformational for your personal life and your professional life. So Tate Shanafelt and Dr. Giarbi are very famous wellness professionals, and Dr. Shanafelt was actually the first chief medical officer in the United States who started out at Mayo and now is at Stanford. And they published a paper in JAMA in 2019 looking at what coaching can do for medical professionals. And in just a 6-month period of having 6 coaching sessions, burnout was reduced and really helped these medical professionals. Basically, the conclusion was that professional coaching may be an effective way to reduce emotional exhaustion and overall burnout, as well as improve the quality of life and resilience for some physicians. And let me tell you, when people tell us that we just need to be more resilient because we're burned out, we are some of the most resilient people that walk the earth. So yes, is yoga going to help us? Is meditation going to help us? Those things that we do for self-care, absolutely, those things are going to help us. And life coaching is a huge part of that. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to enjoy work. We deserve to enjoy our patients, and we deserve to enjoy our personal lives. And as women physicians, we really judge ourselves so harshly. We get stuck in perfectionism and imposter syndrome. And it's a vicious cycle where we criticize ourselves and we doubt ourselves and we just believe that we don't deserve to be happy. With life coaching, we can get you to a place where you have emotional management for your whole life and that you can have joy back in your personal and professional lives. During these unprecedented times, we all need tools in our toolbox for maintaining mental well-being. When we return, let's dive into a conversation with our fabulous guest panelists this evening, Donna Richardson Joyner, Dr. Dina Hijazi, and Hanis Hussey. But first, a brief message from one of our sponsors.
As a physician, you should be able to practice medicine on your own terms. And you should be highly compensated for all of your hard work. You deserve it. What if you could continue your own practice, decrease your costs, and reduce the day-to-day frustrations of managing a business, all while significantly increasing your bottom line? Visit www.99management.com.
Hi there, we are back, and I am so excited to continue this conversation with these 3 fabulous ladies. So I did want to bring up the topic of our pandemic and how we're all sort of coping, being back in another surge after we thought that things were settling down and life was getting back to normal. So I wanted to ask you guys individually, if that's okay, sort of about some of the strategies that you're using in your professions. And so really talking about work-life balance, which I know is an elusive term. I really think the term work-life control is sort of a better way to put it, because I don't know if we all have balance completely the way that we would love to have balance on all of it, but definitely want to ask some questions. So Dr. Hijazi, can you talk a little bit about the struggles with mental health and how that has changed with the pandemic and maybe with this resurgence of the Delta variant, you know, if that's caused some more issues for people?
Sure. During the first, I don't know what we should call it, the first wave, it was bigger than a wave, right? It seemed to go on and on and on. We had a definite, you know, our stats from 2020 are really pretty daunting. We had a lot of people overdose. We had people, the overdoses were up 20%. We had people using substance abuse that hadn't used substances before, alcohol, drugs, and we even know that there's an increase in the use of pornography. And so people were really just grabbing, you know, whatever they could to make it through the isolation. And of course, now we know that the divorce rate has gone up significantly.
Has it really?
So a lot of things that we know about 2020, and I think, you know, we, in my practice, we all sort of sighed after the vaccination came out and after people started getting vaccinated. And we came back live and worked in our practice. I have a lung condition, so I continued to do the 6 feet distance, but I took off my mask, and it was noticeably relaxing, and I felt like I was reconnecting with clients. Now that this has hit again, I'm just experiencing people really struggling with immediately going into this heaviness, this pessimism. I have more and more clients saying, I just don't have motivation. It's sort of like we have to kind of dig deep again to say, okay, we're going to mask, we're going to get our sanitizer out, we're going to distance again. And if you remember the mental energy it took for us to make those decisions constantly. So here we are again.
I know that healthcare professionals are really struggling again, as we did during this whole, initial pandemic. And definitely people who work in ICUs and ERs, so acute care settings, and just having this happen again after, sort of what you're talking about, easing things and having the patient care load decrease so significantly. But they're really struggling again. And it's really scary to think about, exactly what you talked about. Substance abuse is just out the roof, physician suicide. And I can speak to the physician side. I don't really know about nursing and the other healthcare providers, but it's probably not very different.
Right.
And it is just very tragic about what is happening to the healthcare workers.
We do consulting with several physician groups, and we also my business partner does a support group that he's done since the pandemic started for physicians. And we also have a lot of physicians in our practice. And what we're seeing is that they came into this lull, when the vaccination percentage increased. They came in on empty.
Yes.
Right? They walked in, and so many of us are in the same boat as therapists. We're the people helping others.
Yes.
That we came into this feeling empty, ready to kind of replenish. And then it just feels like another tsunami's hit. And we're having to find ways to really do better care for ourselves and others.
Yes. The self-care piece is huge. Well, can you give us any strategies, quick wins, or things that people can think about to just help them be in a better place mentally overall?
Sure. One of the things with burnout is lack of motivation. So listen to people, and what you'll all hear, or you hear the word overwhelm all the time, right? When people are talking, I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just exhausted. Those two words you hear frequently, and especially moms. I mean, the moms that have been at home trying to do jobs and take care of their kids and teach their kids are just exhausted. And the physicians that I work with are saying things like, I'm having to be a therapist now. I'm doing more therapy in my 15 minutes than I am, medicine, because people are so exhausted and depressed and anxious. We have people report feeling anxiety and depression, and that's increased 3 times. That I wanted to say that too, because we all know that, but that's really significant. So one of the things that I talk about over and over is to use your breath, to commit to yourself, to take deep breaths throughout the day. We know that regulates our central nervous system so quickly. And it's a breath in, and many people do a breath in to the count of 4 and a breath out to the count of 7. And everything in the whole body begins to get a bit more regulated. So to do that. The other is that the human species, when we feel anxious or we feel dysregulated, we want to grab something, right? Our kind of download is to grab onto somebody else, or put some food in our mouth, or put drink in our mouth, or tell somebody else that they're doing it wrong. So we have this real natural state to move out. So what I say is breathe and move in and turn inward. And the turning inward, I mean, the last 2 weeks, I've asked every single client that I've seen to come up with a mantra before they leave my office. And one of the mantras that keeps coming up is, I have plenty of time.
Yeah.
There's this sense that we're speeding up again.
Yeah.
So I have plenty of time. I'm doing really well. I'm flexible. I'm creative with my adaptability. We know that the opposite of this anxiety and burnout that people are feeling is connection. And it's not just connection to other humans, it's connection to ourselves. And so it really is that idea of taking time to breathe, taking time to go inward and change a thought. So we're breathing, that changes physically. We change a thought and we get focused on our feeling state. All is well is the most common mantra I use. All is well. And then the third part of that, so it's breath, turn in, and then move. And we know you don't have to go exercise, just move.
Right.
Right? Step outside into the fresh air. Go pet your dog. You know, get up and walk around the house. Anything that changes your physicality is going to change your brain and change your feeling state. So those are easy things that all of us can do.
I love that with my life coaching business. When I talk to women physicians, and I always tell them, I teach them the breathing and the box breathing, and I just, it's 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And you can just do that if you're about to scrub into an operation or you're going to go see a patient, you know, and do that. But some of the other things that I think are awesome too is gratitude work. So I set an alarm twice a day on my phone to remember to do gratitude work. And one of the other things that I really try to impress upon my clients is, before you go to bed, think about what went well today instead of really always focusing on the negative. That's what we do. And for me anyway, and my brain starts to be on the hamster wheel again, that it's been on all day, and then I don't sleep well. And, you know, so I think, you know, just some simple things, but to help people.
I would agree with that. I try to every day write down a couple of things that I'm just grateful for, so that I stay positive and know that, you know, things are going to get better. Also, I think it helps when you can give back. You know, you can lift someone else's spirit, but that also lifts your spirits as well. So I try to give back, you know, every month, no matter who it is or what organization I'm working with. But I just think that we are in a space where people need to just be loved, and we need to be kind and respectful, and just a hug or smile or pump. All of that helps people and changes the mood and the attitude of how they feel.
Compassion and grace, because I think we're all, you know, it's so easy to be so judgmental of everybody now, and you know, that's not working well, as we know. So, Hanis, how about you?
I mean, I agree totally with you about breathing. I mean, breathing is so important to have before you go to sleep, because when your mind is just going, you know, it really helps. I mean, like, to just do those breathings, and then if you can do some kind of movement, like meditation or yoga next to your bed. You don't have to go to the gym. Just a little bit of movement, right?
We learned that, right? We could do Zoom classes now.
Exactly. And you could do that too. And I think most important thing also is to avoid negative news. You know, when you start looking at your all the news on social media, you know, on television, and then this is before you go to bed, and, you know, everything goes in your mind, and you can't sleep, and already you're so stressed with the kids, you know. So breathe, like you say, breathe.
I agree with that.
Thank you for that.
One of the things I do every morning is called PMS, the good PMS. It's prayer. Let me clear that up. It's prayer, meditation, and stretching. And that kind of prepares me for the day. And it gives you that quiet time to do the deep breaths. And I find that there's power in having peace.
Oh, yeah.
How long does it take you to do that, just so viewers can get an idea?
It could take 5 minutes, or it could take 20 minutes, but I make sure I get up early enough to have that time just for me. And that kind of centers me and gets me ready for the day.
I think the morning rituals also is pretty amazing. Is that when you start your day with a certain intention and focus, after you take care of yourself, some self-care, because as women, we don't think that we deserve to have self-care. We think we have to care for everybody else except ourselves. And so
Yep.
that is really helpful when you take some time for yourself.
Mhm.
Don't forget to share this session with a friend or colleague, and we'll be right back.
Healthcare is rapidly evolving, and to deliver exceptional outcomes in future, we need to unleash the power of technology. PMTT provides HIPAA-certified healthcare IT services to various medical facilities. With an experience of over 15 years and 100+ techs providing 24/7 support, with no contracts. We earn your business every month. Dial 214-306-6915 for free on-site training on best practices for healthcare IT.
What other great tips do you have for us?
Yeah, I mean, like, I always advise families, especially during this time, create a sleep sanctuary. Like your bedroom has to be your sanctuary. It's the place where you go back, where you relax from the day. Your husband's working outside, and the wife's at home with 3 kids, She can't wait to pass the kids over to the husband the minute he walks in, right? So this is what I always say. You need to create a sanctuary where you can go in that room, no television, no phone, just a bed. Again, when you create a sanctuary, it has to be colors play a lot of role in it. You don't want a purple room. You don't want a red room. You want colors that are positive to you, that are relaxing to you, so that you can relax from the day. So this is what I usually advise, and the colors you choose are so important for you. Yeah, and then you need that's where you turn everything off, and maybe spend an hour just to relax, and then take over from your wife, and take care of the kids after that. Have dinner, whatever, but put the kids in bed, and then have your time with your husband and enjoy that sleep sanctuary. That's where you have time with your husband.
So if you have clients that come to you and they are a little hesitant because maybe they don't think they deserve that, or even know what they would enjoy because their life is so hectic all the time, how would you advise them?
I think,
permission, like you have permission to do that?
No, I mean, everybody needs that time, everybody needs that that hours of sleep, that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, and that relaxation at the end of the day. Because if you don't, with everything that's going on, my goodness, that's why all the divorce rates are up.
Goodness.
Because we don't take that time anymore. I don't have time, So take that time, try to get organized, I can't say that because I'm an empty nester now, it's just my husband and I, but I see the ladies, my neighbors with 3 little daughters, I'm like, how could you do that? How do you manage, So been there, done that. And I know what it is, how it feels. So I
use the phrase sleep hygiene, and I equate it to teaching your kids about hygiene. Right? You wash, you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you shower, all of that. And so sleep is the same way, that you have to create a ritual. And it's I go back to asking people to remember how they put their kids to bed. And there's a whole lot that goes into that, right? To convince these little ones that it really is time to lay down and shut it down. And so we did all kinds of stuff for our kids that we don't do for ourselves, So really talking about that ritual, and then again, using science. We know that if you shift from a warm temperature to a cold temperature in your body, your sleep hormone, which begins with M, but
melatonin.
No, it's not melatonin. Well, there's another one, and I'm talking to doctors, so what do I know?
Yes, doctor. I should ask.
And so it creates that sense of sleepiness, So taking a hot shower, cranking your air conditioning down, or opening a window, and having that physiological shift enhances that, because a lot of people are struggling with sleep. A lot of people in the medical community are really struggling with sleep.
And I was going to ask you that too, temperature. So maybe you guys, because those of us that are postmenopausal,
that would be me.
The temperature's at 65. My poor significant other is in sweatpants. But I mean, is it better to sleep in the cold? I mean,
it's easier to fall asleep in the cold than in the hot, in the warm. The advice temperature to sleep in is between 60 to 68 degrees. Everybody said that's cold. Not really when you get, when you have the right layers of bedding. And you get in it, it just feels really good. It's easier to sleep when you feel cooler than you feel hot. So for ladies that are premenopausing, menopausing, I feel sorry for them. I mean, these hormones. Well, my advice could be, doctor, you might be able to answer this, but I usually advise, I tell my clients, have you guys gone for HRT? That is the hormone replacement therapy. Maybe that's something that you could. Or maybe if you have done that and you still feel hot, maybe let's look at the labels of your bedding. Maybe you have polyester rayon. Those are, those are the things that makes you hot when you sleep. You don't realize that until you are asleep. And then you see the blanket flies away, and then, and then 5 minutes later you're burning up. And then 5 minutes later you look for it again because you're cold. Again, getting the right bedding for sleep is very important to how you choose your bedding too.
And also the mattress is important. If you don't have, the right mattress, then that will definitely interfere with the type of sleep that you get.
So it really, when your sleep is being disturbed, just because of this, that really, I don't like that. I need to just sleep for 8 hours. Like the cell phone. Just don't disturb me. I'm in a dream.
So I did want to just go back, Dr. Hijazi. Will you talk a little bit more about the medical professionals struggling with sleep? What are your...
Yes, what I'm experiencing from the receiving end, right, as they're talking to me about this, is this frenetic pace that's occurring from the moment they wake up to, their end of their workday, and often their end of their workday is not the end of their workday. It just continues to bleed over once they get home.
Right.
A lot of physicians I see are also entrepreneurs. So they're dealing with the whole being in a small business and all the personnel issues that come at a time when everybody's stressed out. So your staff are stressed out and they want you to give more.
Yeah.
Right? The other thing that I see with physicians that's unique to physicians is that you are being called again, like you were in March, to step into leadership. And that's not a role that you've stepped into before. And when we've had such a confusing time with leadership, and we're still in it, who's in charge and who makes these statements that, mandates, who has the right to lift a mandate? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
And so people are turning over and over and over to you all and saying, what do we do? Tell us, doc, what do we do? And that's a really heavy load. It's a huge responsibility for people that are trained in medicine.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You're working with people with symptoms and pathology, and that is where your brain has been and you've been trained to do so brilliantly. And now people are coming in saying, tell us what to do, and I'm depressed and I'm anxious, so what do I do about that? And your staff saying, I've got to stay home because my kids are at home now, and you're still trying to run a business. So sleep is so critical for them, and you all are the worst. I mean, you really think you can get away with it.
Yeah, we think right. So, Donna, I did want to ask you, you're an author, an entrepreneur, a fitness icon. Can you give us some tips? Like, you look amazing. You take care of yourself. Can you give us some tips?
Well,
on what
I
we
would
should
just
do?
agree with the doctor, because it's important to just get out and move and get sunlight, and just
sunlight.
the sunlight is very, very important. And I think that not only physically, but emotionally and mentally changing your attitude. I also think that it's important. I used to have to beg people to take care of themselves, but now if there wasn't any other time, we're in a health pandemic. So this is the most important time, I believe, no matter where you're starting at with your health program, you got to get started. start being active, start eating healthy, get your immune system stronger.
Yes, definitely.
Because we have to value and love ourselves enough to make different choices. And when we make different choices, we let go of excuses. And now is the time to really honor our body, which is our temple, and take better care of it. So that would be one of the tips. And I think during this time, it has allowed us to not only think about how do we change, because change starts not with you moving, change starts with your mindset, your thinking, and then your actions follow that. But it's also that self-narrative, your self-talk of what you say to yourself. We have to change that, because if it's negative, then that is our attitude. That is the space that you may operate in. And so I think it's important. I know my pastor once said, you must eat from the garden of your own thoughts. So don't grow anything you don't want to eat.
Nice.
And that's something that we all can benefit from and think about every day in our lives. And then the other thing I would say is just having the courage, because we're in an environment that really has us changing constantly. We have to adapt. We have to be flexible. And a lot of times we have the fear of change. We lack the courage to say, oh, we got to do something different. And I know my business completely shut down. I'm a motivational speaker, so I couldn't get out anymore. I have an injury. I'm learning how to walk again. But it allowed me, when I think about my loved ones dying from COVID, my parents getting sick, family members, challenges, uncertainty, it allowed us to reinvent ourselves. And now here I've been in health and fitness for 30 years. And now my mom and I, who's 81 years young, has a food business.
It's amazing.
And so, I don't think if the pandemic had hit, I would not be sitting here with this product, sharing it with the world, having love and legacy mixed into this pancake waffle mix that reminds me back when I was a kid, I would go to my grandmother's and we would go after church and have this great food, homemade food, and we talk and share family traditions and memories. And now here it is, years later, we get to package that. And it's not just the food, it's the experience, because our purpose is really to help people to increase their connections through good homemade food. And we've lost that connection because the pandemic shut us down. There was isolation. And now we do have the opportunity to get back and do those things that matter the most to us, be with the people that matter the most, and value that quality time of spending with your family and your friends.
Amazing. Thank you.
Beautifully said.
Yes.
I noticed you said love ourselves, and you put your hand here. And that's another really good way for us when we get so agitated and so dysregulated to just put hand over heart and remind ourselves that we have to take care of ourselves. Nobody else can do that. And that gesture is such a powerful gesture.
When we return to Celebrating Women in Medicine, we're going to do a little Q&A. Do you have questions related to mental health, therapy, fitness, and more? Well, guess what? We have answers, and we have some great valuable information when we return.
An important announcement for female physicians in Texas. Did you know that when it comes to disability insurance, premium rates for women are substantially higher compared to their male colleagues? The solution is for female physicians to purchase a policy that includes a unisex or gender-neutral rate structure and a discount. This is a blended rate that greatly favors females and can generally provide them with a savings of 40 to 50% off the normal female premium rates. TMA Insurance Trust offers the TMA member long-term disability insurance plan with group rates, which are unisex or gender-neutral rates, so you can save thousands of dollars over the course of your career. Help protect your income and keep more of it. Call TMA Insurance Trust or visit us online and take advantage of our TMA member long-term disability plan that comes with a 25% thank you credit to save you even more.
Welcome back to DCMS Connect, Celebrating Women in Medicine. Tonight's guest panelists include Donna Richardson Joyner, who's an author, entrepreneur, and celebrity fitness icon, Dr. Dina Hijazi, who is a psychologist, and Hanis Hussey, who's a certified sleep coach and stylist. Let's answer the questions that we received for this virtual session. So, ladies, some of the physician members have sent in some questions.
Yes.
And so I'm looking at my phone because I've got the questions in front of me. So I'm going to just ask, and I would love to hear some responses. So the first one is, as a physician, I find it difficult to find a quiet place. Anyone have any suggestions?
Make that bedroom your quiet place. That, you know, just lock those doors and don't let those kids in.
What about when they're beating down the door?
You no longer have a quiet place in it. Yeah, no, your quiet place, I think, should be a bedroom. I mean, like, get the kids to bed and, you know, have that, enjoy that time, you know, relaxing time.
So are you saying that women physicians should have permission to
have
put their kids to bed a little bit earlier and have free time?
Free time, yes, you should have your
Amen.
time.
What I told clients, and you know, again, here we are, to use the garage
Ooh.
and to go in your car, because then you have 2 layers.
Right.
And to put on headphones, and that's 3 layers. And because the checkout has got to be no auditory, right? You cannot hear the kids.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're still
you're
all
you're
amped
just
up.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember that movie, The War Room, and they used their closet.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
she would go
Closet.
in and pray and have quiet
Yeah.
time. And so it worked. And that's another, you know, idea where it's quiet and you can just shut everything off and then get back to the real world. But we do need to take that time. It's so important.
Absolutely.
I had a client do something that was so creative, and she sent me a picture of it. The understair closet.
Yes.
She created her Zen room, she called it. And she might be listening to this, but it's, she put hanging lights.
Ooh.
And she literally made an altar, you know, of all the important symbols that help her stay centered and calm. And for her, it was a lot of her spiritual relationship. And so she did that under the closet and would go in there, and she absolutely made sure she did it every day. So
that's great.
Other neat.
All right. Next question. Should I feel guilty if I want to try something new other than medicine? Well, I'll speak to that.
Go ahead.
I've become a life coach and for women physicians. And I have to tell you, I did it out of a passion to help women physicians that are struggling. And I had to really, it's not like shedding an identity, but it is something different because when, you know, all professions, it sort of becomes who you are. And really, I had to do a lot of self-talk. I will say a lot of self-coaching of myself to say that it's okay to want to do something else in addition to taking care of patients. So I'm all for it. And I think physicians are great entrepreneurs because we're so resilient and we've had to learn so much, and we have our own back to keep getting up when you fail and keep going.
Yeah, great answer.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love to hear what the rest of you think.
I agree. I mean, I think, like you say, they're entrepreneurs too. And I think if there's something that they want to do aside from, you know, medical, go for it. I mean, you just got to try something different.
Right?
Just,
You know, women physicians are exceptionally strong and courageous people. And you know, medical school is not built out of the feminine model, right? I mean, it's a pretty patriarchal system. So any female that can survive that has incredible fortitude. And you're an example, even though you're not a physician, of, you know, completely changing gears. And I think it keeps life
I think
really
you have to give yourself permission to change, because we are so used to being comfortable where we are and what we're familiar with. And I think you have to want to change more than you want to stay the same, because you will stick to the same habits and get the same results. So I think it's important that you make a commitment that says, I do want to try something different, but you also have to remember you cannot conquer what you're not committed to moving forward.
Right. And we just can't let fear drive us, because our primitive brains throw that fear out at us.
Right.
To stay stuck in the cave. And so,
you have to step out on faith, I
That's
believe.
awesome. All right, let's see. This is a really good question. What can I do to keep my appearance fresh and up to date? Because I'm always in my scrubs, but I'm more than just my position. And you know, when you wear scrubs all the time, if you only wear scrubs, you don't wear clothes a lot, and then you try to put real clothes on, and you're like,
yeah, it looks weird.
Eating a little too much. But do you all have some advice?
I've never worn scrubs before. I guess they're comfortable. I mean, so sometimes like you say, because they've worn that so many times, I mean, all the time, and to transition to something a little dressier, a little awkward. So pick something that it's a little not too extravaganza, you know, just something simple, something maybe towards almost like, you know, looking like pants and a blouse, you know, something with not a lot of patterns, you know, even plain is even better, and wear a lot of accessories, you know. I think
my motto is you must accessorize your scrubs. So if you see me, jewelry on,
that's wonderful. Put some jewelries on, you know.
And one of the things you can do, because a lot of people did work from home, so they were in gym clothes. You know, I know I was. And one of the things I decided to do during the pandemic, and I live alone, is I said once a week, you're going to get dressed up and have dinner.
Ooh,
even if it was just me. But it changed my whole mood. It changed my whole attitude. And I was like, wow, look at you. You look hot and you're feeling good. And I just sat down and had a lovely dinner. So I think that that's something they can do, even if it's once a month, but making sure that it's a part of your schedule, because then it becomes a part of your routine, your daily routine, and you feel good. And when you feel good and look good,
everything's different, right?
Everything. Your whole attitude, is different.
And it really is back to what we talked about earlier of self-care. If we're doing absolute minimum, you think about, what if you decided to just brush your teeth once a day? You would not feel good going about your day. So if every day you're just throwing on the minimum, you are going to eventually start to feel that way. To me, that's a level of self-neglect. I love going to see my doctors, because the creativity with the scrubs that women, there's so many different kinds of scrubs out now, that just make me laugh. And then the accessories too, I think. It just uplifts, right? Which is what you're saying.
And just take some time, even if you call up a girlfriend. I have one who called me up and she must have looked at my hands and said, oh, let's go get a pedicure, manicure. Because you forget, things that were routine, but no longer are there, So I think it's thinking of things that you can do, not just for yourself, but just with your girlfriend or even with your kids. That is important. That makes it,
And it's effort, right?
Yes.
It's putting effort into self.
Especially for ladies that work from home, that loves working in pajamas. You get out of bed and then you go to a computer and start working.
Right.
It just feels like you're still half asleep working, and your work kind of like not to like the way you want it to be. But if you go get changed, get dressed, and like I do, I make it a routine every day to literally get dressed and put on shoes and pick up my handbag and walk to my office, which is next door.
Beautiful.
But it feels different, like, I'm actually in my little space, in my office. And it, you start to work, and then, that really feels good. Like you say, it uplifts you. It's different. Instead of you just with your pajamas and your coffee, trying to tackle the day.
Boundaries.
Yes. We just have to.
And then because of Zoom calls too.
Oh my goodness. God forbid you stand up and they see like you have a nice shirt on with your bottoms, your yoga pants. You're like,
that's what I've done a few times.
All right. Well, the last question is, often I feel bad because I work so much. It's hard for me to spend time with my family other than eating dinner. What else can I do to show them I love them? Because the pandemic has kept me so busy.
Wow.
I'm very practical. I try to keep things as simple and as least time consuming. And one of the things that I think is so helpful and replenishing. So I'm always trying to couple up, if you're spending time here, can you be adding things that you need? So when you're working, you know, we really are in a portion of our brain that's high problem solving, and for physicians, it's a lot of that kind of triage algorithm, right? So it's like, if this, then this, then this, and, you know, then we go here and make this decision.
Right.
And so to sit down and have a puzzle going all the time, that you can say to your kid, let's work on this for 15 minutes. And that completely shifts you out of the part of your brain, which is rejuvenating in itself, and it's protection from burnout. Same with cards. And board games. Yeah. Board games take longer, but cards you can do, you know, you can do a couple of hands with your kids.
I think one thing I would suggest is putting your phone down, because now we have access to medical records on our phone constantly. The electronic medical record has changed everything. So it's 24/7 emails, you know, messages from patients, messages from the people you work with. So I think that that's key, is to just put your phone away for a certain amount of time, turn it off so you can't hear it vibrating, you know, knowing that there's messages waiting for you. But that's one thing that I do.
I also think just getting up and moving. You could just put on some music and dance, you know, or go for a walk. Or one of the things that I've done is I'm always getting cards, and I'll write a note and put it in the backpack, or I'll send it to a friend, because just getting that card that says something positive and uplifting, people are not expecting it from one. And it could just be that one thing that lifts their day.
Absolutely.
So that's something that I've become a big fan of.
Right.
Well, my daughter, I have a granddaughter, a 5-year-old granddaughter. My daughter, she's really busy, and you know, whenever she can find time, when it's her time with her daughter, like you say, turn off your phone, everything's off. You know, they don't even watch TV at home. They go to a cinema, you know, now that, you know, it's open. So they go out and they do things. They go swimming together, you know, just that an hour of time with your daughter, you know, that's plenty. I mean, that's like, you know, like you say, if you don't spend enough time, but when you spend that time, you make it a quality time.
Exactly.
You know, no, not just, hey, here's some pencils, colors, and go coloring. Do your coloring over there while I'm on the phone. You know, that's
you're really present.
You're really present, and you're really
mom guilt.
Exactly.
And this is a time to start like some new hobbies. You know. Getting back to just getting a good book and reading together, or like I picked up my hobby again. I crochet and knit. So that calms me down. It's so relaxing, but then it's a labor of love, because I get to crochet or knit something for someone, a love throw, and send it to them. So it also relaxes me, but it's a gift for someone else. So yeah, just picking up some hobbies that you enjoy doing, because that's just your quiet time. And as you said, it takes you completely away from what's happening in your real life.
Settles.
Yes.
Well, ladies, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. But I would love, before we end, for everybody to just sort of say what they do and what, you know, what your profession is, because we've heard so many great tips from everybody and great education. So can we start?
Yeah. So my name is Hanis Hussey. I am a bedding expert, and I'm also a sleep coach. I'm not a sleep doctor. I'm a sleep coach.
Love it.
Yes. So I work with a company called Songvi Luxury Bedding. They have a 40-year legacy in luxury linens. So and they are also a sleep wellness company. So we are there. We're dedicated to helping people, you out there, to have the best sleep of your life, you know, and we believe in sleep well and live well, you know, that's what I do. Yes.
Yes.
Great. Me?
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Dina Hijazi. I'm a licensed psychologist and co-founder of D2 Counseling, which is a group of therapists that are seasoned, experienced therapists, and we work with the full age spectrum. I like to say 3 to 93. We're having more seniors in our practice, which is just delightful. And we do a lot of groups, and that has been an absolute outcropping of the pandemic. People really want to feel connected with each other. So group therapy is a really wonderful way to make changes and get inspired from other people. I think that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. And Donna?
I'm Donna Richardson, and I have been in health and fitness for over 30 years, helping people to get healthy mind, body, and spirit. I've traveled to 50 states, 50 countries, 6 continents, and it has just been an amazing experience and journey to have. And now, when I think back of how I started back with Jane Fonda days, with Buns of Steel.
Yes.
I was a part of that video, but now I have Buns of ARP. And you know, it's so interesting because back in the day, we'd go for the burn. And now I'm burning it up in the kitchen with my mom. We started a new food product, and we just launched on Amazon. And now we got our first grocery store deal. It's Mama Laverne's chicken waffles and pancakes. And, you know, I always say that you have to be able to not let anything stop you for what God has for you. And no matter what age, my mother's 81 years old. Amazing. I'm 58. You just do it. And I believe that whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that God has for you is for you. So go for it.
Thank you. Well, this is amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. I want to thank all of our panelists this evening for a rich and invigorating discussion, adding yet more tools to our toolbox. On behalf of the Dallas County Medical Society Board of Directors and our valued DCMS member physicians, we want to thank you for joining us at this virtual Women in Medicine event. I wish all of you the safety and wellness as we navigate through these difficult times. Have a good night.